Hello, YouTube. This is an alcohol review of Jefferson's Ocean Aged at Sea Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Now, I know what you're saying. Is that a high dollar, much more expensive bourbon that is normally done on this channel? Why, yes, it is. Mrs. Claus apparently felt that I was a good boy this year and went and got me a little present right here. As you can tell, I've been having a little bit and bob out of it here and there since the old Christmas Eve. Now, she doesn't normally get me anything along this line, but this sparked her interest and struck my eye due to an article she had read, and it was a Scientific America or one of those scientific journals that she tends to read from now and then. And in it was an article about bourbon. And the question came up, is old-time bourbon taste different than modern-day bourbons? Well, if we're still using the recipes used way back with the old great-great-great-grand and all that kind of thing, then of course it's going to taste the same. But does it? And it's not because of the recipes or the processing, the distilling, or anything along that line, though that may or may not have a factor. The question comes up is the shipping and bottling of their bourbons. How does this make any difference? Well, modern day, they go and they process on grounds, they put them into the large casks, the big barrels, they let it sit steady in these great big cellars or barns or cellars and barns, and climate control for the most part. Then there's another filtering stage afterwards, and so forth and so on. But back in the day, some of these bourbons were shipped, and that means they had to be taken in the barrels, put onto shipping vessels, mast vessels, and then taken from point A to point B. So what they did was, they did, of course, a sample that just simply was done modern style. Great big casks, great big barns, sat there for the select amount of time, and then gone through the standard process and bottled and whatnot. They took another same batch, just a different part of it, obviously, and instead of putting it into the barns, they shipped it to a sailing boat, a cutter of some sort. And it went from, I believe, New York to Mississippi? Something along that line. I believe they had to go past Florida. And they just sailed it on through, got it there, then put onto some trucks, straight to our processing plant, bottled it, tasted it to see what the difference was. And they found, lo and behold, that those samples that came off the ship taste better than those that came out of the modern processing plants, if you will. And they believe the reason was the ship rocked and flew back and forth via the ocean, and that, of course, took all the bourbon that was in the barrels and sloshed it around inside the barrels, giving it greater contact with the charred American white oak barrels, thus changing the taste. So when we saw this guy, Ocean Aged at Sea, and the little tag even speaks, come here, buddy, there we go, even speaks of this particular experiment, had to give it a try. Damn the price, as it were. Well, I guarantee it won't be having anything near this level of cost. Is there anything on the bottle? Voyage number 15. That's about it. So anyways, the standard line here, it is 45% alcohol by volume, 90 proof, 750 ml bottle. This is a special wheated mash, so that also will have a bit of a factor involved. But the main thing is does it taste better than the standard modern day no rocking of the ship kind of bourbon. And like I said, the article stated yes. All right, let's get, woo, a little crazy there. The Canadian you normally see me drink out of, yeah, well, that little bugger's lost right now. So hopefully the kids didn't break it. That, or I'll have to go and dig out one of my Glens from the tower. So I'm kind of stuck with one of these jobs. So all those comments about that's not really a good sampling. Yes, I know it's not the greatest sampling glass, but it's what I could dig up at the moment. All right. So we get a swirl going here. I'm used to the other glasses trying to do this. It tears up at a nice standard rate. It is a good caramel coloring to it. And it smells, it has a depth to it. It's hard to describe. There's caramel, there's dried stone fruit in there. There's like hints of apricot, things along that line. But it's very light, very mild. I smell no real ethanol to it. Nothing sharp, nothing burning. But then again, the environment that I am doing this review in, it is around December. We have been lucky and we're getting warmer temperatures, but today is a particular cold day. The reason why I'm outside is because, well, everyone is inside and I don't appreciate the excessive noises in the background. Sometimes I keep on reviewing with it, but not this time. So the scent is pretty much to the point of being gone. Could have been a snowflake. As for the taste, now as we know, the colder something is, when it comes to the spirit-wise, the more it kind of fiddles with the flavor. That's why I brought up being outside in the cold, where it's quiet-ish, versus inside where it's warm and noisy with people and animals. So I guarantee you this is going to taste a little different indoors. At least until my patience runs out and I start yelling at some animals or people. But there is, of course, the standard bourbon flavors: caramel, stone fruit. It wants to be bitey. It really does. But it doesn't quite get there. It's like one step below wanting to bite your tongue or burn the back of your mouth. It's a good multiple layers are on it. Hang time is about medium length. When it comes off clean. It does leave a hint of a burn, but nothing in comparison to other bourbons that are out there. Like I said, as for a bite, it wants to bite, but doesn't quite get there. It gums you, how's that? Instead of bites you, it just kind of gums. So those parts of bourbon that most people don't like, that bite and that burn, very faint, almost non-existent with this. The flavors hit you right off the bat. The richness and depth gets you right off the bat. But like I said, it wants to. This is an absolutely fantastic bourbon, in my humble opinion. Is it worth the price? I'm a working man. If it wasn't for Mrs. Claus, there's no way I could ever touch this. Like I said, I'm a working man, proud of it, proud of a working man's family. And yeah, thank goodness for Mrs. Claus breaking the bank. So I doubt if I'll ever have something this rich again. And yeah, it's worth it as a present. I'm crying as I watch the level gets less and less and less in her. But compared to most other bourbons I have tried on this channel and ones that I've tried off without having recording, this is nice. This is very nice. And I even hate to say this. Cutting this with a nice cola or something, it would go phenomenally well in that as well. Usually, it's a good sipper or it's a good cocktail bourbon. This would do both. I have had this mixed, and the sugars of the cola took away all that near bite, took away all that near burn, and just wiped it away and left you with nothing but an overly sweet, fantastic bourbon flavor. And like I said, the name Jefferson alone, besides speaking of pricey bourbons, it has a history, or at least the name has a history, going pretty far back in the history of this country. Yeah. So it is, as expected, for the price that you pay. It is a wonderful bourbon. Now, is this the best one I've ever had out there? Boy, she's awfully close. It is awfully close. I can think of some other ones that are much more inside range of my particular cheap pocketbook. After all, this is a bourbon. This isn't, this isn't getting me to work. This isn't paying my bills. So this is on the bottom level of my expense account. So I've tasted things they're well worth the price on that cheap end of things, and that's what I'm kind of used to my flavors being. So I will defend some on my end that I think are better, but this is awfully good. This is awfully tasty. Give it a try. Tell me what you guys think, as I've rambled on way too long. Jefferson's Ocean Aged at Sea Straight Bourbon Whiskey, very small batch. There we are. If I can get it to you guys can read it. Any comments below about this particular product would be warmly welcome. Better yet, go out. See if Mrs. Claus will get you one. Enough about the cost. Try it, buy it, try it. Make a review of yourself talking about this particular bourbon. And let us all know in the YouTube community about your thoughts about this particular product. And until next time, keep on drinking.